What's up everybody, and thank you for joining me for another video. My name is Whack4863, but you can call me Whack. I finally want to dive into my Myel build, and it's more than just a Myel build. I have a couple of other characters that come with me that's going to be Verso and Sciel as well. Now, unlike other builds, I'm not going for the maximum amount of possible damage you can get. I'm actually going for a build that nukes everything without using every Lumina that you can possibly find. So you're not going to have to spend a ton of hours grinding up the Lumina to put this build together. In fact, this build only takes 650 total Lumina points across these three characters. Additionally, I'm not max level and I do not have my weapons maxed out for this build. Let's dive into it. Let's start with Sciel here. You can see we have 141 Luminas spent on Sciel. Her Pictos that she's running is Empowering Parry, Greater Powerful, and then Shortcut. The only reason we're running these is for the high crit rate. You can see that gives us 127% crit rate. Now Sciel is set up just to buff Maelle once she gets started. She is on auto death and death bomb, and then she's also going to fill the break bar on the targets when she dies. Here's all the Luminas that you need in order to get this started. The weapon that we're using for her is the Sheridan, although it really doesn't make any difference for this build what weapon you're using. And really the only skill you're going to need on her is Fortune's Fury, because that's all we're going to end up casting. Then if we go over to Verso, you can see we have 185 Luminas spent on Verso. Let's dive into his Pictos. Now these Pictos are very important for Verso. These need to be active on him in order for this build to work properly. So we have Marking Break. That means when we break the target, we are going to also mark the target. We have Quick Break, which allows us to play again right away, making it so that we can use less Luminas on him by not having Cheater. And then we have Gradient Break at the bottom. That gives us a 50% charge to Gradient when we break a target. Additionally, all of these have really high critical rates, putting him at 131%. Now, a lot of these Pictos don't really matter on Verso. You want to make sure that you have enough AP at the start of battle to fill up your bar completely. You want 9 AP from the start. Then you're going to put on all of the break related Pictos like Burning Break, Exposing Break, and Fueling Break. Those are all very important. Obviously you have the other breaks already equipped, and then Double Mark is very important here as well. The weapon that we're using for Verso is the Contorso. It really doesn't make a difference. This is just a weapon that I thought the attributes on the levels looked cool, so I went ahead and added it. He does get a few lightning strikes off when he uses his break abilities. And you're really only going to use two of his skills. You're going to use Perfect Break or Phantom Stars. Into Myel, this is where you're going to spend most of your Lumina points. You can see we have 329 of 330 spent. Let's dive into her Pictos. We have Cheater, then Powerful Shield, and Rush on Powerful. And we're just at 102% critical rate, but that's perfectly fine. We don't need any more than that. This is where all your damage is going to come from, so it's very important that if you see it on the screen, you have it selected for Myel. And I'll scroll down here just a little bit so you can see everything. That is the entire list of what you'll need for this build. Now I do have a few things like Solo Fighter and Last Stand Critical on there, which is just to make sure that she can handle the fights by herself if you're going to fight, say, a Gestural Merchant. But otherwise, we are going to play with all three teammates alive. For her, the skills you're going to use are going to be Stendhal, Phantom Strike, and Last Chance. And we are using the Medellum. I was using the barrier breaker for a little while to steal shields and get more shielding on Myel. Unfortunately, the Medellum still does the most damage. I'm not sure if there's something else going on in there that causes this to do more damage than the barrier breaker. Even though the barrier breaker has a much higher power, the Medellum still seems to be the go-to for the maximum amount of damage. So let's just go to the highest trial we can here, and I'll show you how this rotation works. So obviously Sciel dies and is resurrected at the beginning, filling the break bar all the way and applying 6 stacks of burn. We're then going to go to skills. We're just going to do Fortune's Fury, and we're going to put that on Myel.
Cut him down.
Then we have Verso's turn. We're going to go to skills. There's 2 targets here, so I am going to use Phantom Stars to get more gradient charges. Now, anytime he breaks a target, he actually gets another turn. I'm not worried about using that turn, so I'm just going to skip and give the turn to Myel. Now, there are a couple things we could do here. We could go into Last Chance for a little bit more damage, but we don't need to do that because we buffed Maelle with Sciel. You can see we have 18 stacks and 12 stacks of burn. We also have defenseless on both characters. We're just going to go into Stendhal for the one character, and we'll just do that. And that right there is going to hit for 35 million damage. So there's nothing else you need. Nothing in the game has that much hit points. Even when you go and you face off against Simon, you aren't going to need that much damage to one-shot him in that fight. I do want to show you guys one thing though. We're going to go into our Luminas and we're going to remove one Lumina because I want to show you how much damage you can lose by just unequipping one Lumina. So we're just going to come down here to teamwork, and this is a 10% increased damage while all allies are alive. It's only 5 Lumina points. Let's take that off real quick and I'll show you the difference in damage. Going back into stage 11, and we're going to do the exact same thing.
You saved me.
Let's have some fun. Some stars.
Blades sharp.
Now you can see our damage went down to 29 million. Just 5 Lumina points gives you a 6 million damage difference. So it's very important to know what you're looking at and why you're putting on certain Luminas when you're doing that. But yeah, again, this is my build for the least amount of Luminas spent across all the characters, and this build works really well against anything. Out and about in the open world, there's a lot of interactions that you're going to get into where Sciel's explosive damage at the battle start is just going to wipe out every target that you're fighting, giving you a lot of 1-second fights. Additionally, for multiple targets, the Phantom Strike is enough damage to deal with just about every enemy. Now, obviously, there's more damage to be had if you're looking at damage videos and you're seeing videos where they're putting up higher damage numbers than I am. You can totally do that. Just understand that the cost in Luminas can be much higher than what I have going on here. And I just wanted to give everybody a least amount of Lumina kind of minimalistic build to deal with all the enemies that you're going to run across in the main game. This is not New Game Plus. It may be more difficult in New Game Plus. I haven't tried that out yet, but this is an easy minimalistic build to put together. Now, if you're looking for any specific pictos from this list, the wiki is linked in the description of this video, and I highly recommend using it to find the pictos that you're missing. I'd like to thank all my YouTube members for your continued support. Y'all are absolute legends. Don't be out of whack, there's another video on the screen right now that you can watch to enjoy more of my content.